Ladies and gentlemen, today on the KeithAndrewNetWork, it's 780. I'm here with Paul Davis. That's right, I'm here with Paul Davis and Tom Zanca. What a great episode we have for you. Make sure to like and subscribe to KeithAndrewNetwork.com. Let's jump right into it. So the first question I want to ask you is tell me a little bit about your background, and I'd be more than happy to answer that question in return.
Sure. When I was a kid, I was just a really bad stutterer. Got ridiculed and everything. It was in grammar school. They put me in special classes, reading classes and whatnot. And so I've always hated public speaking because of that experience. And when also as a kid, my parents always read newspapers and magazines, and I became a real news hound, watching news with them. And so I found, that using the printed word for me was a much safer means of expressing myself, without the worry of being ridiculed and whatnot. So I really became a wordsmith. I went to school for journalism. And then I just wanted to be a newspaper reporter. And that's what I did straight out of college. But then also in college, I was taking a lot of literature courses. And I had a terrific professor in English who really turned me on to creative writing. And I started writing short stories at the end of college and got my first short story published October after I graduated. And I got a big head. So I sent in my work to agents. I wanted to get an agent. And the only two that responded said, you write really visually. Did you ever consider screenwriting? I've always loved movies, but I never even knew what a screenplay looked like, formatting or anything like that. And so a girlfriend of mine at the time, she lived in New York City, took me to a screenwriting expo. And man, Andrew, that was it. I knew from then on what I wanted to do. I wanted to write movies, screenplays, and so I started doing that. And then one of my friends said to me, hey, why don't we shoot one of your short scripts? And I said, okay. And I had never directed before, but it was a great experiment because what I found was the directing is really very similar to writing because what I'm doing, I'm a storyteller. That's what writers and directors are. They're storytellers. So I saw that directing, I'm just telling the story on the palette, the screen, versus on the printed page, on the blank page, like as a writer. And so that was really eye-opening for me. And I found that I was really good at it. I'm a good photographer, and I have a good eye for composition. Light and composition are really key elements, in creating a great picture. And same thing with video and film. So because of all those compatibilities, I really took to directing, and that's really what I've been concentrating on the last 20 years or so is writing and directing. I've done shorts. I did my first web series 2 years ago until COVID came along. And that's really it. So I don't even promote myself as a writer anymore. I promote myself as a storyteller.
No, absolutely.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm okay. So my name is Paul Davies. I'm an actor, musician, father. I've been near enough every single job you can think of. I do suffer from dyslexia, dyspraxia, scotopic sensitivity. I've had many learning difficulties through my life, but I actually got into university and I didn't finish my degree. I ended up acting instead, which success one way or the other. I didn't feel like I needed to finish my degree just yet, but I will do eventually. I'm 47. Yeah, I just have to remember I've just had a birthday. And I live in the UK, in the just north of Manchester.
Oh, nice. Are you guys still on lockdown?
We've just been given a couple more restrictions and a kind of roadmap of where we're actually coming out of it, hopefully by the end of July.
it's funny, but it's not funny. One thing I hate is wearing glasses, and every time I wear those stupid masks on my face, my glasses always fog up. So I went to ShopRite with my dad, and as you know, my glasses fogged up. I'm like, all right, let's point me into the cereal aisle, and I can feel the shapes on that.
I get.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I get that. I wear sunglasses a lot because of the scotopic sensitivity. Basically, it's if you ever walk into a room full of stripes and you can't get the stripes out of your eyes once you've walked out, I kind of get like that, but it can last for sometimes an hour or so afterwards. So that obviously that affects me when I see like writing and especially black and white for long periods of time. But yeah, with the sunglasses, it's always steaming up. It's doing me nothing all the time.
It's funny you should mention that because there's a store in Woodbury Commons called Coach, and it's really nice, expensive, but the carpet is black and white. And every time I walk out in the store, I walk out with a pounding headache. And I'm like, what is it about the store that gives me a headache? And it's the stupid carpet.
Yeah.
Something about black and white, right?
It's black and white. It can be like obviously highly contrasting colours. So some wallpapers from the 90s, I think that's what caused my marriage to break down.
But black and white are not colors, right? They're actually shades.
It's true.
Then again, they do make gray, so go figure, right?
Oh, this is it.
But the next question I want to say, or on the subject about lockdown, Anthony Cuomo opened up the states in New York, and the numbers of cases are skyrocketing. It's kind of like you want people to stay 6 feet, by the way. Yeah, you can go. You want to go to a restaurant, you want to get drink, you want to do this, that, do whatever. But yeah, people are dying left and right. So it's kind of signals of saying you can do whatever the hell you want, but if you die, hey, you die. What is it like over in England? Is it can you do whatever you want, or is it just you have to follow the rules?
It's kind of hit and miss depending on where you are in the country. If you're in the cities, they're being kind of stringent with it. But I've been working because I work acting. We're kind of not exempt from the rules, but we get a little bit of leeway. I can travel up and down the country, so I get to see quite a lot of differences. Like in the rural areas and that, it's pretty empty. Everybody's kind of keeping to themselves and making sure that they're sticking by the rules. You get one or two who aren't. They've had quite a few house parties been arrested for and fined. Quite a few raves around here as well. So some are, some aren't. It's the odd few that probably are going to spoil it for the rest of us, like usual. But at the end of the day, I think most people are actually kind of adhering to the rules, and you'll get the odd idiot that wants to, I'm not wearing a mask, deal with it. If they've got a medical reason why they're not wearing a mask, totally fine. At least have some respect. Even if you don't believe that's happening, do it anyway. Because it's like saving the planet. If the climate change isn't happening, let's save it anyway, just in case. Because at the end of it, we'd have saved the planet and have a nicer place to live. So, even if you don't believe in all the hijinks that everybody's doing, then just wear a mask until it's all over.
No, I agree. Tom, I want to hear your opinion, but I do like your Captain Kirk outfit.
For us here in New Jersey, we're right outside New York City. It's sad to see, the Big Apple so quiet, so many people out of work, especially the restaurants. My wife and I, we always love, going to the restaurants on weekends, catching a play, a movie. You can't do that now, A theater, it's taken a beating, it's really sad. For me personally, as a writer, telling a writer to stay in the house I've been so productive the last 18 months, that it's kind of the old saying, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. That's what I've kind of done, okay, I'll stay in the house, and my wife and I, we don't have children, so we make nice dinners at home. She works in New York City, so she's saving that 2 hour commute every day, which is wonderful for her. But again, the city's losing all her money, from lunch and everything. So it's really hurting the Big Apple economically.
No, I agree with you. Now, the next question, I'll move into a happier subject, is Trump Tower casino got actually knocked down. There's a little plug for that. But I was going to ask you, what was the biggest change in your acting careers? Whoever wants to start.
Yeah, well, since I'm primarily a writer director.
Okay. So me then.
Yes.
My acting started when I was about 7 or 8, I think. If we go, not obviously professional, but I did quite a lot of primary school. It's like kindergarten. Excuse me.
Don't worry, I have that effect on people.
I remember being, I think it was The Artful Dodger was the first one I can remember. I know I've done a few Christmas plays before. I'm being one of the sheep in the manger or something like that. But the first one I really remember was being The Artful Dodger in Oliver. We did a school play. Yeah. And I actually ended up joining the church choir off the back of, I had apparently a wonderful angel-like singing voice then. Not many angels sound like this anymore, but so I ended up touring with my church, a thing called Going for Gold, which is a Christian thing about somebody who came out of the Welsh valleys and tried to go for gold. I can't remember the story of it, but I was one of the main protagonists in it. I was the love interest, kind of, within Christian rules. And then I went on to do Bugsy Malone. We did actually a full, not the film, we did a production of it, which was a week long with matinee. It was actually on stage with actual splurge guns. That was amazing. I remember that as a kid. And I played Fat Sam in that, the only non-singing part in the whole thing. So I actually got asked because I could sing and then didn't end up singing in the whole thing, but I got a major part out of it. So that I was all right. That was at secondary school. That's going on a few years. And I joined the army from school, and sort of that went awry for a few years. And when I come out of the army, I started playing guitar, and my love became music. Fast forward to about 2007, I ended up splitting up with my wife, and I'd been going to college for in between that happening, and I ended up getting my kids in custody, getting custody of my kids, and I went to university to see if I could become a decent guitarist and possibly a session musician. And I think it was halfway through my second year, and I got an email from BBC Radio asking for people to go doing background voices for Radio 4. And I ended up doing 2 things for them, and it just sort of went from there. And I've been an extra supporting artist for about 30 different productions, slowly working my way up. And last year, obviously COVID's put it back a bit, but last year I got my first part in an American horror movie, which is going to be filmed this year, hopefully, COVID permitting. That's going to be filmed in either Georgia or North Carolina. It's called Detour 95. It's about a girl who tries to escape from New York, and she's traveling down to Miami down the I-95, and she doesn't get there. And all will be revealed in the film. I can't tell you anymore, really. That's the main premise of it. She comes a cropper, shall we say, over here in North Carolina somewhere.
Yeah, really cool. And Tom, before I pass it over to you, I do want to say one thing to Paul. Are you going for the ZZ Top look, or are you going for the Gandalf look?
I went back in time and they copied off me, really, you know. I call myself a heavy metal badger.
No, absolutely.
Thank you, by the way.
No, you're welcome. Tom, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I got into acting a number of years ago at the advice of a screenwriting teacher. He said, if you want to become a better writer, he says, take some acting classes. So I did. Again, living close to New York City, my girlfriend at the time, I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. And a couple of teachers said, you're very natural at this. Why don't you pursue it? So I did. And, I got my SAG card and all that. But you know what, Paul, before you came on, before I had told Keith that I was a really bad stutterer as a kid.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the acting really helped me break out of that shell. I hated public speaking. I hated being in front of people, But acting school, it put me in front of an audience. So you had to, you're on a stage, theater, and it really helped me overcome my stuttering. So that was a great plus for me from acting. I still prefer writing and directing, though, so I really swayed away from that. But again, the acting, I got to see the limits of an actor, what he or she can do on stage and in front of a camera. So when I'm writing, I'm much more conscious of that now.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I do want to do something fun. I want to pass it over to you guys. The reason I do this show and double interviews is I like bringing people together. And who knows? You guys might be interested in cross promoting. And I like bringing people together, make new friends. So it's a kind of win-win. But with 9 minutes left, I'm going to pass it over to you. But the last question I want to ask both of you before I shut up and pass the show over is, have you guys worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities? Passing the show over to you.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've worked with quite a lot of people, especially musicians, quite heavily dyslexic, as I found when I was doing my university course. And I got quite a lot of help from university because of that. And obviously you get to meet with more people in your cohort who actually do share the same symptoms or have worse. And it's amazing actually how much help we did get, but it was still lacking in a way that we got free computers and stuff like that, but they weren't really engaging because I think there's still not a lot of understanding in especially the art world, where the money's come into it, the business likes to take over, and so we should be doing it this way. We need to churn all this out, and it doesn't work that way in the art world whatsoever. So with TV, it can be very, very regimented when you're working, and I can see why a lot of people who do suffer from learning difficulties, disabilities, can actually they can strive in that kind of area because they're being told what to do all the time. They kind of know what they're doing anyway, because you can't get it that wrong unless obviously you can't read something. But there are ways and means of getting around that. There's different strategies you can do to get around that. I forget what the question is now. I can ramble. I can talk a glass eye to sleep sometimes. For the cause, if you can still do it and you've got a disability, you probably, I'm not saying you're better than everybody else, but you're not far off.
No, I agree. For me, I'm very selective on who I want to work with. I try to take recommendations. Oh, hey, try to interview this person, your person. I'm not saying I'm a hypocrite or anything. I'm far from perfect. Like, oh, your show caters to people with disabilities, but I know someone who should. And the interview would be god awful. You kind of want to say bugger off, but you can't say that. But I like having something in common. I like to know, feel the energy. I know it's you guys, you're full of energy and it's upbeat and it moves. I don't want to have a conversation, and I had conversations like these where it feels like you're watching freaking paint dry, and it's like you're wasting your time, you're wasting his time. You don't want to have stuff like that. So I'm very selective at who I work with. Not saying I'm an asshole or anything, but a lot of people would dispute that. But Tom, passing the show over to you. What's your opinion?
My job as a writer is to paint the picture of the world as accurately as possible. And people with disabilities, I'm one of them. We make up the world, I'm so glad you asked that question, Keith, because here's a great quick story. A number of years ago, I wrote a script. I was a journalist at the time. I was assigned a soft feature article to spend a day at a group home here in New Jersey, a group home for mentally challenged people. Okay. I spent a day there. It was a wonderful experience, wrote my article, and I said to myself, I said, there's got to be a good movie in here somewhere. A bunch of years later, sure enough, it hit me, and I wrote a thriller based on a group home, and it's become one of my favorite scripts. However, at that time, I was out in Hollywood pitching it. Producer said, nope, we don't want to see retards on camera. Okay. Now, though, because of the changing attitudes, that script right now is in Hollywood. A major literary management company, I pitched it to them. They said, we love it. Send it to us. So
Nice.
I'm hoping that, it's been 10 years. The story takes place in 1990 here in America. And the reason being is in 1987, 3 years earlier, the federal government here in America passed the law giving mentally challenged people the right to a humane home, which opened the floodgates for group homes, much more humane than the old asylums in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that's what the story is all about. It takes place in one of the first group homes in America. And based on what happens there, it really sets the stage for the future of group homes. That's the stakes that are at hand in the story. So I'm so thrilled now that I held on to that script. It's always been one of my favorites this many years, and now it's finally being welcomed in Hollywood instead of said, no, we don't want it. So
That's amazing.
I'm really happy about that.
Oh, absolutely. And there's the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But
That's absolutely amazing.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt. I do apologize.
No, it's okay.
Well, let me ask you about this. With Cuomo, I know you guys, you live by the city. I know you're from England, but with Cuomo closing all the prisons and letting no bail and closing the mental institutions, for me personally, if you have a problem, you should, get help and be, able to get that help, not say, throw the crap against the fan to see what happens. What is your opinion about that?
Well, in this country, our mental health service hasn't been the best it should be. Obviously, asylums have only just been going the same way that I think we went around that. It was around 1990 where they started closing down all the asylums. It was around that time. But obviously, I don't know too much about that, so I don't want to talk too heavily about it. But on the mental health, because I have suffered from depression over the years, and my late ex-wife, who actually she died last year because of committing suicide.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Things happen. I obviously I was quite heavily involved with her at one time, and it was, as they say, mental. The time was absolutely harrowing. It was like being in a war zone. And to be totally honest, the help that we got is drug related over here. Probably the same as it is over there. You go see a doctor here.
Yeah.
Before they've even looked at your head. You know, I've always believed that you can't actually fix anything wrong in here with a pill. Because at the end of the day, it's what you're taking in from the outside world that's probably made you go that way in the first place. So it's affecting what's going on around you and trying to sort that out before you start taking like Vicodin or whatever they're passing you. I'm not too sure what they're going to give you over there. We had temazepam, Zopiclone, sleeping tablets that they're taking off. Say, oh, go have some sleeping tablets, have a good night's sleep. And you're not. You're just throwing these tablets, so you're not really fixing anything. And the waiting times for any sort of counselling used to be about like 18 months before you got to see anybody. And it wasn't very helpful at all. And it's still kind of treated as a taboo subject. But, oh yeah, they're going a bit mental. They're eating the drink or they're taking tablets or whatever. And it's still not confronted head on. It needs to be. It needs to be. Everybody suffers from depression at one time or another. Everybody has a bad day, and sometimes them bad days can last years. It's all to do with your support that you've got around you, and if you're trying to push people away, that's usually the big sign that you have to come closer and help. And I think as a world in general, I think we all need to establish that suicide takes far too many people away from us every year, and it could all be helped.
No, absolutely. And my last question for you, wrapping up the show, I want you guys to be brutally honest. When I first approached both of you to be a guest on my show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And what do you recommend to tell all those people out there? Whoever wants to start.
Yeah, Paul.
Well, I thought, this is a different. I suppose the interviews were going to come soon, so I said yes because, especially because of learning difficulties and that, it's something I'm very passionate about. The fact that I have to live with it every day, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do it. And this has been enjoyable. It's been a great talk. Thank you very much
for
the opportunity.
Yeah, Keith, thank you for asking me, first of all. And the reason I said yes, because my stuttering in the past really forced me to become the person who I am today. If I wasn't a stutterer as a kid, would I even be here talking to you right now? Would I be a passionate writer director? I don't know. So I'm actually grateful for what stuttering has done for me and driven me to be a writer and so in love with words. I'm sure Paul, as an actor, knows. You read a great play, it's like, right, Paul? It blows you away.
It does, yeah.
And I wanted to be that. I want to be that kind of playwright, that kind of writer. And again, I think stuttering pushed me to where I am today. So I'm actually grateful for it.
With that being said, to wrap it up our talk show, it was a real honor and privilege having you both on the show. And I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. I just want to say thank you very much.
I'm Jenny Fine.
Hi, it's Mimi Chen.
Hi, my name is Ellen George.
I'm Shauna Toth.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Edwards.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
Hi, I'm Amelia Rose Fair.
Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrews Show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesomeness.